This conference will now be recorded.
All right, so for chapter 10, we're talking about SSH and SSH keys. Now, what's important about where you're going to find SSH really truly important is when you start dealing with um, your configuration management tool like Ansible. All right, so by default, Ansible is agentless, all right, and Puppet has to have an agent. So when I say it's agentless, meaning like I don't have to go to a machine and then install a an agent and then have that agent configured and then spin up and then connect back to some main server. That's Ansible works over SSH, so this is really where you'll see, well, one place you'll see SSH being really important. Another time that you'll see SSH being real important without Ansible, let's say if I went into DigitalOcean and I went to droplets and I say, let's create some droplets, right? Let's just use Ubuntu. Let's do one that's $6 a month. Hey, they went up. They used to be $5 a month. There you go. $5 a month. No volume. Let's put it in New York. And then here you see, hey, you want to use SSH or you want to use passwords. If you use SSH here, you have to upload your SSH keys, and then you upload your keys here, and then when you go to log in, it'll shoot you the actual the actual IP address and the username, and then from your laptop or wherever you're logging in from, you'll just SSH to that particular IP address or host name, and then go from there. So that's what they do here. Now, what I also can do here is, let me see, uh, I can, instead of creating one droplet, I can create 3 droplets, and then I can give them names as well too. All right. So, and you can do all of this from the interface or from the actual CLI. And that's what's cool about this. All right, so let's get busy. Let's go over what they got in the class. So, chapter 10, we got access to the remote command line. Then you have a guided exercise. Then we have configure SSH, a guided exercise, then customize SSH, and then 2 labs. All right, so let's start here. We got our objectives here: disable root logins and password-based authentication, because you can sniff the network. And I wonder if they're going to talk about man-in-the-middle attacks in here. I don't know if they are or not. But you can sniff the network with something like Nmap and see what's going on the network, right? You can see traffic pass back and forth. So good thing for you, SSH is encrypted, but most people don't like using passwords back and forth. They like to use keys back and forth, which is safer. All right. Configure a user to use key-based authentication to log into a remote system without a password, and then log into a system with SSH. All right, so here they describe your secure shell, and by default on your Mac, you have a secure shell right here. Like I just went to terminal, and then I open up terminal, and boom, I'm there, right? I already have a secure shell. Um, Let me cd the home, and then let's do a ls minus a. You'll see that I have in here a .ssh directory. And that usually gets created after you do like a keygen dash T, and then you want to do RSA. And there are different encryption types that you can do right now. RSA is going to be your safest one. Well, AES 5, AES is usually what we're using right now. But again, RSA for this particular one on your Linux box and even on your Windows box, you're gonna generate your keygen with an RSA pass. And if you're not sure about RSA, let's go here and do a man on keygen. You don't like me? Okay. Let's see. Let me go over here. I bet you my boxes, my lab environment probably has it. Let's go to workstation. All right. And then let's get a student. And then let's get this turned on. That allows us to go cut and paste back and forth. No thanks. Let's close this. Why are we not getting our terminal activities? Here it is right here. Here we go. Let me see. Where's my full screen? All right. Is that too small?
I can see it. It's
Okay.
small, but I can see it.
Okay. Tune, you keep saying that. Will this be recorded? It's already recording. So, all right. So now, let me do it. All right. So, let's go over here. I am. Let's see. I'm at home, and you know I'm student because tell me I'm in the slash home, so you can see I'm in slash home student, and I am student is the user. Now, if I do ls minus a, you can see here there's a .ssh file, a folder right there. cdo to .ssh. Let's do it ls minus a. And we have a public key right here, a private key, a configuration, and authorized keys, right? And your authorized keys, if you do a cat on that, oh, it's not in there. Usually there'll be the servers that you'll log into. Well, it's known host. I may be getting all ahead of myself. Maybe known host. They'll verify that. Do a man on keygen real quick too. Oh, nothing there. Let me do a yum search. And I'll do a man on man search too. Oh, I need to be root. Will it let me run it as this? Nothing found. Let's do a man dash K on the keygen. Nothing. Let's go over here. They don't have a manual page for it. Man pages. Oh, it is SSH dash keygen. Okay. All right. So right here, this is what I was talking about right here. So when you have the protocols, you can do RSA or DSA. We use RSA to generate our keys, right? And once we generate, and then you can see there are other options that you can do here. That's what I was looking for, to show you other options. I'm gonna go back over here and try SSH keygen. Let's do a man on dash K on SSH dash keygen. Nothing there. Don't have nothing there. Interesting. But anyway, so they got different passphrases, host name, remove all the keys that belong to this particular host from the known host file. So once you log into a box, and this happens on Ansible, when you SSH to a box, it asks you, do you want to accept and write to known host file? So that way, every time you log in, you don't have this, hey, It's a new box we're logging into, and it'll pop up and ask you yes. So by default, you will and I'll show you this at Ansible. By default, you want to go ahead and have that accepted, because remember, you have, when you're doing automation, you're not gonna be able to be at the terminal, the hit yes for 15 boxes. You want to have it automatically do that and write to a file for you. And so SSH and Ansible go hand in hand for this one. All right. So now let's get back over here to what they're talking about over here. Let's go course. All right. So here they're saying that the open SSH package. So if we go back over here, I'm a sudo to root. And student is the password. And let's clear the screen. If I did a yum, or better yet, if I do a RPM-QILC, and no, let's do QA. If I just do it like that, it's gonna give me all the packages that are ever installed on this machine. But if I do a QA and I pipe that over to grep, and I grep for SSH, you can see here I have open SSH, I got open SSH clients and open SSH servers. And you can see I had SSH pass. Well, if you want to know what files got installed from these packages, I can do a RPM dash QILC query info, I think list, and then configs for open SSH dash server. And so as you can see, it gives me the information about the RPM, but it also gives me more information about, remember we talked about PAM files, also give us configuration files that were listed. And so that's what the RPM QILC did. So let's do a man on RPM. All right, so in here, if we go down here and start looking at our selections here, we can see I did QILC. So let's go down a little further. You can see here where the -C is config files. But let's look at it from the options perspective. All right, so is it gonna let me do it? Yeah. All right. I just want the single ones. Let me go down and come back up. Oh, they don't have it by single. I guess I gotta stay at the top and search through it. All right, so Q, we can see the I right here for install, the Q for query, right here. There's Q right here. There's the I right here for install. And then the C we know is configs. And so now we need to find the L. Add file package D2 info. Let me see if they have it here. Let me do RPM dash help. What the hell is it here? Well, let me get it on the screen.
I think I saw it where it said files. Did you see it?
I didn't see it. Here it is right here.
Here it is right here. Okay.
List. Right? So QILC, query info list, and then configuration files. What we do know as well too, we know that SSH is a service. So if I did a system CTL dash list dash unit dash files If I just do it that way, then what is it, file? Oh, it's my thing, or the dash. More files. Here we go. All right. So you can see I'm going scrolling across the screen, but I know what I'm looking for. I'm looking for SSH. So I can just go here and type grep SSH, right? So we can see we have an SSHD service right here that's enabled right there. You see that? This right here would be a target. This is triple SD that belongs to using, most people use it with Kerbos or LDAP with this one. And then again, we see the target right there. All right, so we know it's a service. So we can do a systemctl status on SSHD. And we can see that it's running. We can see where it's loaded from. You can see what port it's listening on as well too. We can also see that the memory and the CPU we have right here, right? It gives you everything that the process or the task or PID, I should say, that is running up, and when it was active and how long it's been running, right? So give this the status of SSHD. The package is installed. OpenSSH is installed. RPM is installed. We got config files. It's been configured to run on port 22. And there are other things that go along with it. And we saw this because we saw the config files. So when we cd over to etc, and we do a slash, and I'm just type SS and then double tab, we can see we have an SSH directory. And we know this from this command here. When we did the RPM QILC open SSH server, we know we had some config files in here, right? We got a sysconfig, we got a SSH, we know that, right? But now we're just going to double verify that. All right, so now you see we had a SSHD config, and I'm gonna open that up. So our SSHD config is where we, as the owners of the box or admins or whatever, how you want to look at yourself, can do some manipulation. So by default, SSH runs over port 22, right? But we can come in and we can change the port in which SSH runs over. So we can set it to port anything higher than the services file inside of etc services. So usually we'll start at like something like, we'll do something like 12,000 or something like that. But it just, the point of the matter is there are certain applications that have well-known ports that they start on, and you don't want to set nothing to anything, I think it's below 1095, because you have other applications that by default across the board in Linux, they run on those ports. So you don't want to conflict. We also have, we also can tell it what address to listen to. And notice that we got IPv4, which is your 0.0.0.0, and then we can have it listening on IPv6, right? And then we also have this another part right here that's important. Where does this information get logged at? So this is syslog, right? And syslog is a package inside of Red Hat, inside of Linux, that pretty much tell you where to log your information. So I can have it logged in a different log file. Like I can have SSH create a different log file and then go from there. And then in here, as you can see, we have permit root login. We can say, hey, don't allow root to log in. We give it a grace time, and we can look these things up, and we will. And strict mode, yes. And then the maximum number of tries somebody tries to log in. The maximum number of sessions somebody can have open. Should I use public key authentication? Yes or no? And these are things that we're going to go over later in the chapter. And then here's my authorized key file that we're telling. It says the default is to check both .ssh authorized keys and SSH authorized keys too, but this is overwritten, so installation would check authorized keys. But here's some other options down here that you can continue. I'm not going to go through all of them, that you can continue. Like if you want to use Kerbos, which will relate back to triple SD or LDAP, you would come here and use that. You also have other things right here, like allow port forwarding, keep alive terminal information, what the root directory information and so forth. And then you can set a banner so if somebody logs in, they'll get a default banner when they log into your box, right? So you got a lot of options inside of your SSH config file where you can customize your config file. All right, so we go back over here. It said you can use SSH command to create a secure connection to a remote system. It could be username or password, and you will get an interactive shell, or you can use SSH with a key in order to do it. And another place where SSH with a key comes into place, if you had to rsync information from say my local box, my local laptop to 13 different machines. I essentially could write a script that could take stuff from my machine and dump it onto all those machines using SSH with a key. Now you can use SSH with a username and password, but you're going to type that password 13 times every single time it logs into that box, those different boxes. So doing it with a key prevents that. Doing it with Ansible allows you to actually go back and look at your code and actually do a test to see if everything is actually there. A little bit more slick when we start talking about infrastructure as code. So here they're on one box and they're SSH to host A, and then they type in the password for that. Now the user that they're going at is developer one, right? So let me show you how that works. So let's come back up here to the lab. And I am on console A. Let's go to server B. So one thing I can do, I can type in host server B. Now server B is at serverb.lab.example.com, and the and the IP address of that machine is 172 whatever. Now I can SSH because in the host file it knows to translate serverb.lab.example.com to that IP address, or I can go by that IP address. So how that works, if you look in /etc hosts, you'll see a list of servers that are defined for me. So we have the IP address and then the actual server names, which I can go by, and then I can also go by the short name too. So here I typed in host server B, and server B gave me back all this information here. Like I got the IP address. I also have the fully qualified domain name, FQDN, fully qualified domain name, and then I have the short name. So but I've been in these labs before, so I knew it had a short name. All right, so again, let's type in host and then server B. All right, so now if I say who am I, I'm root, but I also know by looking at my terminal here that I'm root at workstation. So now I'm just going to say SSH to server B. And it automatically logged me in because the keys have already been exchanged. And then I can just type host name right here. And that's how I know I'm on server B. Now I will show you what you gain by having these these keys already exchanged, and we'll go through and make a key, and then we'll exchange a key. All right, so by default, I can do this. I can say SSH over to server B, and then from command line, without me hopping on the command line of the machine and leaving my machine, I can run commands remotely. I can say SSH server B and then uptime. And it's gonna give me the uptime of server B. If I do host name, it's so I'm server B. If I type host name locally, you can see I'm on workstation. So it's physically, or I shouldn't say physically, I say it's remotely logging in, running a command, and putting it back to me on my terminal, right? So, but I did that without having to put in a username and password because I have keys that are already exchanged, right? So let's go back over here to the course. All right, so here they did a SSH. They didn't have keys exchanged, so they had to log in, right? So they had to type in the username and then the password, and you see it go from host to host A. Then they exit the actual host, and now they're back on where they started from. Then they say, okay, well, SSH over to developer two. I mean, using developer two as your username and then the password. And then here, I mean, the host A is the workstation, and then or the server name, and then use this shadow man as the password. So it's very interactive. Now, imagine if you had a for loop again, and you had developer two at host B, C, D, E, F, G. You would be putting your password in there every single time, unless you use something like expect, so it can write to it or whatnot. But if you're just in a for loop and you don't have an automated way to input the password, then you're just gonna be sitting there typing that password every single time, and that's not a good use of your time. Um, so here, identifying remote users, right? With the W command, um, displays a list of users that are currently logged into the system. It also displays remote system location and command. So they SSH over to the machine and then they type W. But we can do the same thing here without logging in and putting in a password. We're just going to SSH server B and we're going to type W. And it gives us back that information. Another thing we can do, we can say ls minus L TRH and then on slash temp. And I think I may have to put that in double quotes. Oh, okay, cool. I didn't have to put it in double quotes. So on slash temp on server B, there's some information there, right? So let's do this. Um let's do um touch slash temp hello class dot text. So on server B, I'm gonna log in. I'm gonna create a file called slash temp hello. I'm gonna create a file under slash temp called hello class.text. And then I'm gonna hit enter. Now, if I want to see if I got a file over there, right? I can come back over here. I can do an ls minus ltrh on slash temp. And you can see there's my file, hello class.text. And I did all of that without me actually typing in the username and password or physically logging in to the server itself, right? So let's go back here. All right, so now they're talking about SSH keys. So we kind of got ahead, which is fine. Just that's what I wanted. All right, so SSH secure communication through public key encryption. When SSH clients connect to SSH server, it sends a copy of its public key. All right, so let's go over here. And then where are we? We're in etc SSH. Where we need to be is CD back to home, and that's just CD tilde, and then let's do ls minus L. LA, so you can see it. So we have a folder right here, .ssh, and then I need to CD over to .ssh, and because I don't want to type commands on the command line, each one thing at a time, I'm just going to use a semicolon and type in clear. So what it did, it ran the command, the first command, and then it ran the second command, right? So now that I cleared and I'm in the directory of .ssh, I can do a ls minus L. So we have that public key right here, and then we have that private key that they're talking about. And then known host is where anytime we log into a machine, there it gets written in here as known host, right? So you got server B right there, right? All right, so now let's go back over here. They say when a user runs an SSH command for connecting to an SSH server, the command checks for a copy of the server's public key in its local known host file. They might be pre-configured with /etc SSH known host, or might use .ssh known host, which contains the key in the home directory, and we just showed that. I said if the client has a copy of the key, then SSH command compares the key from the known host. So in other words, if I say I wanted to say if I want to SSH to server B and I've already been to that machine, it's gonna write to the known host file. So when I go back over there again, it don't ask me, do I want to write to the known host file? It'll already be there. So let's go here. We look and see there's known host file, we got server B here. Let's go SSH to server A. And then let's exit server A. I'm gonna clear, let me see if it automatically wrote it. I think it did, but let's check. Yeah, it didn't. Yeah, there it is. There's server A right there. It automatically copied it over. It wasn't there before. Let's try. I'm on workstation. What's another machine to try? What's another machine so we can show you? Let's go to utility. So back over here, we see on my box, who am I? And then we can say host name, which is workstation, and then we're gonna cat known host file. And we can see we got server B, and server A, right? We don't have utility in there. And we can double verify this by opening up known host file. And we can just type utility. We see nothing's being highlighted, so okay. But now when we do it, we're gonna SSH to utility. Right, and now you can see warning, permanently added utility to the list of known host files. Automatically did that for me. Right, so now when I clear my screen and exit from utility, and then when I go back over here to cat known host file, you can see utilities I added. Right, so they're showing you that it adds, it does a copy of it. Right, let's catch up where we were at. Right, all right. And so is the client has a copy of the key, then SSH command compares the key. Like so, if I change the key on not known host file, if I change the key on any of the servers that I'm working with, it's gonna create a new key. I mean, it's gonna check to see that these two keys don't match. Right, and so you have to delete it, or yeah, 9 times out of 10 you got to delete it, or could be a symptom of somebody is actually has hacked your box, right? Could be, right? So here they SSH to that server, they put a username and password in, and then they're saying warning. They're trying to show you here warning permanently added, blah blah blah. All right, so here the they're showing you the known host file, right? But it said each remote server here that you can connect to stores a public key in a file with the .pub extension and /etc SSH, which we saw. We went through and saw the public keys, but let's go back over there so you can see that. Am I in the right direction? Yeah. So here and here, public keys. Hmm. All right. So if it's it is a good practice to add entries that match the server's public key file to your known SSH file or to the system wide /etc SSH known host file. And then they give you some references here. All right. So now on the guided exercise on the workstation, they have you start lab SSH access. And they run over to server A, and then they say just practice logging in with username and passwords, running commands on the servers, and so forth, right? That's the first one. Any questions so far?
Yeah, I'm back to my original question. Like, how do I troubleshoot if I'm unable to get past step one? Like, is
Step
there,
one.
should I,
Well, step one, you just turn the box on.
well, no, I turned the box on, I'm in the terminal, and I was back trying to change my password, things like that, change my username and password or whatever they were telling me to do, and I was unable to get past that. I put in the
Well,
command,
oh,
and then
we,
when I got to the command prompt, I couldn't type anything else. So my
yeah,
question was, should I go to the Google Cloud and
no,
practice on there?
well, it's not showing that in here. Which lab were you in that showed
Well, I was in two, just trying to get started in the terminal, just trying to get
which
started,
where
you
at
know,
into? Where at
the
into?
um, let me see here. I think it was the very first step of the lab where it's asking you to change your I think it's
Which lab? This one? Access
lab.
the command line?
I think the second one, access. I got through the quiz, access the command line. Uh, okay, I think I got through that. Let me go to it, and it may have been that next one after that. Uh,
This one here?
yeah, here, very simple. I typed in that command, password or whatever. The current password, I put in student, but it wouldn't allow me to type anything. It was just not allowing me to do anything. So I couldn't even get to chapter 10 to where you are. So I was
So,
wondering if that happens, should I
no,
go to the
you
Google
should be able to.
Cloud and
No, you should be able to just type in password.
but it wouldn't allow me to type in that second step. It just went blank.
Were you student?
I used student. I mean, it was very simple. But right there where you're at your command prompt, I couldn't
Mhm.
type anything. It wouldn't allow me to type anything. I don't know if it was freezing
Oh,
or
no,
what.
no, no.
Logged in, logged out.
No, it typed. So what you gotta understand is it's typing straight. So when you type in the word student and me typing and stuff right now, I'm typing. It's accepting what I'm typing, but it's not gonna show it. You follow me? Hello?
I'm on mute again.
Um,
No,
did-
when I can you hear me okay? Is it
Turn
echoing?
down, turn down your volume.
Okay. Uh, I want to put on my headphones, but that'll probably be a problem. Can you hear me now better?
I can hear you. What I'm saying is when you type in password and you type in the current password, it's not gonna it's not gonna move, the bar's not gonna move over. It's just gonna have a blinking cursor.
So right now, when you type on your keyboard, can't you type letters? Won't it come up? Mine
No,
didn't.
you're
Oh,
not gonna see the letters.
oh,
It's just
does
gonna
it?
be, it's just gonna be blank. You just need to remember what you typed.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I thought that my keyboard or something wasn't connecting. I thought
Nah,
it was messing up. Oh,
it's not
okay.
gonna show you. It's just gonna,
Okay.
it's just gonna be a flashing cursor, and then you just gotta remember the keystrokes that you type. So if you got an uppercase A, lowercase, all that, the, you're gonna have to type that in twice.
Oh, thank you so much for that. I was stuck right there. And then I was
Yep.
thinking, well, maybe I should go on the cloud and practice. Okay.
It would
Thank
be the
you.
same. It would be the same thing.
It would be the same thing. Okay. Got it. Got it.
Hmm.
Oh man. Never mind.
No problem.
Thanks, Tam.
You are. All right. Chapter 10.
Question for you, Cherie. Did you not ask anybody in the group or in your study group?
I've been so busy. I just started a new job this week. I was trying to practice on it yesterday. I haven't asked anyone, and then some of the names I see up here, I can't really find on our, thing because they have their first names and stuff like that. So I didn't even go there.
Gotcha.
Okay.
All right. So configure that. Okay. So this is where we're at. All right. We're at the top here. Okay. So here they're showing you again the SSH keygen. We'll probably do a lab on it. Where you generate your key. By default, I guess now is it'll generate RSA by default. And so once it creates these keys, it puts a key, a public and a private key in your directory, right? Here's your private key that gets put into that tilde means it's your home directory or wherever your home directory and what you identify as home. Remember, we can change our home directories if we wanted to. See, who am I? Let's see the group. Student. And remember, if I go to etc password down here at the bottom where I got cloud user or wherever student pops up in here, I could change my home directory right here to whatever I want it to be. Right? So what I say, 9 times out of 10 is 9 times out of 10 is your slash home directory, but it doesn't necessarily have to be, right? All right, so they tell you they're gonna create a public key and a private key. And then you're gonna do a SSH keygen, and you're gonna take defaults. They're not putting anything in, and they tell you I'm gonna create a directory. That's how you get the .ssh key. And let's go here and do an example. So let's do a user add tam, and then let's su to tam. And then if I do SSH keygen, and I'm gonna take the defaults, you can see right there, it's gonna create the directory for me, and it's gonna create my private key and my public key. And I'm not gonna give it a passphrase to log in that is gonna be required for login. They'll probably go over this a little later. So here I just created my public key and my private key. And if I clear my screen and then do a ls -a, you'll see I got a .ssh there. And those are the two keys that got created there. Right? So let's make another user add tam4 and then got an A. Forgot an A. And then let's su to tam4. And then if I do a ls -a, you don't see a .ssh folder there. But if I do a ssh keygen, I get the actual directory gets created. And then now if I do a ls minus a, I have a .ssh file there, and I'm gonna cd the .ssh, and then do ls minus a, and then I have my two keys there, and then we can double verify that with who am I'm 10-4. So exit out. So, and we can also look at ll on /home, and we can see the users got created, and there's their home directories, tam4, tam, and then student, DevOps, and cloud users come with the actual environment, right? So that's how you create your keys. Now you have these keys, and then you have these servers, and you want to be able to go from your home, your local box to a new box as that user, but that user isn't known over there on that new box, right? So that user got to get on the box, and then that key got to get transferred over there as well too. So we have there's a way to transfer these keys. So let's keep going. It says, if you do not specify a passphrase when SSH keygen prompts you, then a password does not protect the generated private key. In this case, anyone with your private key can use it for authentication. If you set a passphrase, then you need to enter the passphrase when you use the private key for authentication. Therefore, you must use the private key's passphrase rather than your password on the remote host. And so now they start to get in, well, okay, well, in the following example, we're going to use SSH keygen. The passphrase protected private key is created alongside the public key. So then they got SSH keygen -f.s, and then they say key with pass, and notice here you put in a password, right? You're gonna put in a password. Normally we don't put in passwords on these. We just generate them without them. But some people, depending on who it is, some people may require you to do that. I normally haven't seen that. All right, here we go. The SSH keygen with the -f determines the files where the SSH keygen saves the keys. In the preceding example, it saved the private key to /home.ssh, and then key with pass, and then key with pass pub. Here, warning, during further SSH key generation, unless you specify a unique file for the file, you will be prompted for permissions to overwrite it. So let's go see what they're talking about here. Let's go SSH-T, SSH, sudo, not SSH. It's SU to TAM4. All right, we know there are keys created, right? So what they're talking about, if I do a SSH keygen, the files that I already have there are gonna get overwritten, right? Control C, and let's do ls-l. Let's do a ll on .ssh, and we can see we got a date on it, 2108, right? So now when I do this SSH keygen here, and we're just gonna take some defaults. Oh, see, there it is right there. Overwrite it. There, and then I say yes. So now it's gonna overwrite it. And then we're gonna clear the screen. And then if we do a ll on .ssh, you can see the time changed from 2100 to 2112. And we can see that it got overwritten. And we know it got overwritten because it asked us to, right? And it says the permission modes must be 600 on private key and 644 on public keys. Now, when you try to SSH to other machines, it'll tell you that your private key is too wide open. You need to restrict it. So you need to use the chmod command to change it to their 600 and make sure your public key is 644. So now we're about to share our key, right? So now here, they're gonna share this SSH copy ID and then wherever that key is onto some remote host. So I got TAM4 on workstation. Let's put TAM4 on utility. All right. In order to do that, I'm gonna do SSH copy ID -I. All right. So now let's do SSH dash copy ID -I. The location right now, I'm local in the actual directory. Am I? Yeah. Oh no, I'm not. .ssh and then ID. And I think it's the public key, and then the user that I want to go over, that I want to put on there. So I can go, I'll do it as root and then utility. Okay. To log into the box. Will it let me? Let's go as student, because I know I can get in as student. Add utility. All right, are you sure you want to do this? Yes. All right, well, I need student's password. Okay. Well, it didn't let me do it because I'm not, it didn't let me write to authorized keys. All right. So let me see. I don't think I can do it as suitable. Let's try it. Student. Oh, it's looking for TAM4 over there. Yeah, and TAM4 doesn't have sudo either over there. So it doesn't like that. All right. Here. Oh, snap. Hold on. Let's go back up here. As you can see, it's looking for student, but when the minute I go to sudo isn't over there on TAM4 isn't over there on that box, but student is. So it won't let me write the authorized keys. So let's see how they're doing it for here. Yeah, that user isn't over there. So let's go back and see. Let's see, can I do this? Did I type it wrong? Yeah, permission denied. So let's go over to utility. SSH to utility. Well, hold on. Let's go. Let's do this. Let's go exit TAM4 and SU-student. And now SSH to utility. All right, so it goes into .ssh authorized keys. So let's clear and let's go to .ssh and then the ls. And then let's do LL. See, look, authorized keys is owned by root. Even on student, authorized keys is owned by root. So let's do this. And root has is root, and it has read and write on it for root, but it don't have it on there for the thing. So let me do this. Let's sudo su dash. No. Let's exit. Sudo dash root. Can I do that? I don't know what root password is. It may be red hat. Yeah, it's red hat. Okay. So we can do this. All right, let's exit. And let's, well, no, let's go back to root. I want to go over as TAM4. We'll do it again from TAM4. I don't have a TAM4 on here. Oh, I'm on utility, that's why. Let's exit out already. And then let's come back over here to our thing for TAM4. And, oh, Yeah, workstation got 10 for 'em. Yeah. I don't know why you need a password because I didn't set one. Let me see if I could just sudo SU dash. Yes. Okay. All right, cool. All right, so now that I am 10.4, let's go back to our command here and let's go as root. Because root owns authorized keys, let's see if it will let us in now. And now we're gonna do Red Hat. Oh, you don't like me? Oh, you did it time out on me? Uh-oh. We might have timed out on me. It timed out. All right, I gotta wait for it to stop. All right, anyway, let's get back to it. It timed out on me. Y'all didn't remind me to set it for 2 hours. How dare y'all? All right, anyway, down here, basically right here, you can see they're probably using root right here because root is Red Hat. Its password is Red Hat. And it says after you transfer this over, you should be able to SSH over to the machine. But in this case right here, because they set a password on here, on this file, look right here. When you go to SSH with that key pass, it's gonna ask you for the passphrase on that key pass that you set earlier, because you set a passphrase for it to be used. Now, it says if you want to use this for non-interactive, they're gonna suggest that you use eval here and SSH agent. So let's see how much they got on there. All right, cool. Almost finished. It says if you protect your SSH private key with a passphrase, then you must enter the passphrase to use the private key for authentication. However, you can use SSH agent utility program to temporarily cache the passphrase in memory. And then whenever you use SSH to log into another system with the private key, the SSH agent will automatically provide the passphrase for you. This passphrase configuration is convenient and can improve security by providing fewer opportunities for someone overlooking on your shoulder and to see you type in the passphrase, right? So here they say eval, is it stopped yet? I have to look. Eval SSH agent. When you run this command, it prints some shell commands. You must use these commands to set the environment variables such as SSH add used to set up communication. The eval SSH agent command starts SSH agent program and runs those commands automatically to set environment variables for that shell session. So here's an important thing to note right here. In here, remember I had two terminals open. We can go here and I can show you that. So if I open up another tab here, whatever I did in this shell, it's not going to translate to this shell. It's going to be two different environment variables set in this particular shell. We can do that by saying, okay, echo, or we could say green equals to blue, or one, well, we would say green equals 1. And then echo $green. And it's 1. If I went over here and said echo $green, it prints nothing. It doesn't translate from shell to shell. It's only in this shell that I've set that variable, but that doesn't translate that to this particular shell that I've set that variable. So when they're saying here, you have to note that automatically set the environment variables for that shell session. If I close out and I have it set at command line, then those variables will go away. All right. Let's see if we can get our classroom. Any questions so far? Or this starts up again?
I have a question again, sorry, but mine is doing the same thing saying stopped in the console.
Yeah,
Do
you
you
gotta
just wait for it? You just wait for it?
I waited for it to stop and then go start again.
Okay.
Yeah. Usually I set it to 2 hours, but I forgot to do that. All right, so that's the copy, all right, section. All right, so here they're saying that by running the SSH program is running, you must specify the passphrase for the pirate keys. So those are that's that when you did this command up here, the dash F on this one, and you set this phrase right here, that is going to interpret that inside of the memory, and it's going to hold it in the memory in that shell session, not for the other session that you may open up. Right. Make sure you keep a note of that. All right. All right. So here it says when you run the SSH agent command, print some shell commands that you must run these commands to set the environment variables for the program and SSH add, and then the eval is going to evaluate, right? So let's look up eval Linux. Eval Linux. Typed it wrong, but that's okay. So eval is a built-in Linux command, which where is it? Come on, please log in. Okay, let's go back over here. All right, eval is a built-in Linux or Unix command. Eval is a built-in Unix command. The eval command is used to execute arguments as a shell command on Unix or Linux systems. The eval command is handy when you have a Unix or Linux command stored in a variable and you want to execute the command stored in the string. So they give an example here. So you can set command equal to ls minus lrt, and then you do eval $command. So let's try that on here. Let's say, all right, let's say command equal to ls minus ltrh on /temp. And then we'll say eval on $command. Oops, all lowercase here. Is there something in temp? Let's see. Yeah, so it should have gave me that. Let's go back and look. Come down. Make sure I typed it right. Yeah. Eval $command. I don't think it needs to be capitalized. Yeah, it don't need to be capitalized. Yeah, it don't need to be capitalized. You can do anything. So why didn't you like me? Because I got a space in there or something? Maybe you don't like the /temp. Let's go back and try it. Let's try ls then. Why we not working? You know we got an ls minus l. And we have command. Maybe I need to do a bash shell. Maybe I need a bash shell, for instance. So I'm gonna go bash. I don't think I need to do that, but we'll see. Command equal to ls minus lrth. And then eval on $ command. Oh, $ command. It didn't like it. Let's see if it works on the Linux box. This is a Mac. Let's see if it works on the Linux box. All right, let me see. We should have a session started, lab environment. Let's go over here to workstation. And let's do a student. Kim. All right, clear. Let's get this thing on. Let's go command, get that off of there. Command equal to ls minus ltrrh. And then let's do eval $. Am I doing it wrong? Command. Let's see. Oh, they didn't like it there either. Let's go see what they do. Of course, I want it got to be capitalized. I don't think it do. Yeah. So we should be able to do an eval on anything. Let's try what they have. Oh, I've been putting it in parentheses. They don't have parentheses. Let's go back. Just the SSH agent. Okay. So back on my machine, I did it. I just need a command. Okay. They have no parentheses. But they have SSH agent in parentheses. I wonder why. Let's go here. Eval SSH agent. Eval, even though I haven't set a password on anything. I just want to see something. And there's the PID. See, it's running. All right. And then you have to do an SSH add because you have the process running. Add. Let's see, because I don't have a password file set or nothing like that, it's not going to do it. So we will have to come back up here. In order to do all that, I will have to do this SSH keygen right here. And then once I do that, put the passwords in. And remember, the passwords have to be the same. And then when I come down here for my eval stuff, I run the eval and then I add the password in there. Right. So here we did the SSH add, it added the private key, and then SSH add with the key pass right here, then put your password in there. It says after successfully adding the private keys, you can invoke an SSH connection to your machines. But it'll be held inside of the memory, so it'll go through and should read the memory and allow you to log in because you go from host to remote host. All right. And then it says the following example uses the home.ssh with keypass non-default private key to authenticate to that remote server. And it says, so SSH command does not prompt you to decrypt the key because you got a session running and it's reading it from memory. So I can see this being cumbersome if you didn't run this. Let's say it this way. If you SSH to a machine and you get on that machine, but you don't have if you haven't evaluated that process and you hadn't added that password to memory, and you had to hop over to another box, I can see you doing that process all over again. So that'd be cumbersome. But that's just another way to secure it without with protecting your private key. The other way, without doing the evaluation or SSH add, we're not protecting our private key. When you log out of the session, that SSH agent program, the process exits and clears from memory the passphrases for your private key. So remember to log out and that'll kill it. Any questions so far? Did that make sense? Or do we need to go through this lab? It's all on server B. And they show you how to copy and then add your keys and so forth. So what I wanted to show was, let's do DigitalOcean. And we're on workstation. And then let's do ls -a. And let's go over to .ssh. Oops, cdo to .ssh. And we have here a public key called lab rsa.pub. And we're going to cut and paste this key. Right? Oh no, hold on, let me turn it on. And then I'm gonna come back over here to DigitalOcean. And I'm gonna do a new key. And I'm gonna paste this. And must be a valid SSH. Oh, it's getting the white spaces. Let me see, where does it start at though? Can I get rid of that? Nope, I can't. All right. All right, so let's go back over here. Let me pull up a text editor. And let me see if I can grab that key without getting all the nuances behind the key from the web browser. Pull up text editor. And then let's do a new document. And let me see what I'm seeing here. Yeah, I'm getting all the funky stuff. All right, so let's go back here. Let's highlight this. And I'm gonna cut and paste that. Let me see if I can get the same thing. Yeah, I'm getting mine. I'm gonna look here. What is cut and paste here? Let me do that. Copy and new. Are you getting something new? Nope, not getting nothing new. Why am I not getting that cut and paste here? Yeah, I wonder if it's Control C on here. Let me look. What is copy in here? I thought you could just, see, can I just copy and then paste? Nope, same stuff. Nope, same stuff. It's not deleting what's already there. Okay, you're making this hard. I don't want to type this stuff. Even when I do, let me see, how do we put, let me see, is it Apple Shift C? Let me see. Let me see if that did it. Nope. All right. What is cut and pasting here? I don't know. Is it? I forget. What is cut and pasting in it? Cut and paste. Should be. Let's see. Now let's try it. Control Y. Control U. Let's try Control C. Control C. Let me see. They don't like it no kind of way. Oh, that sucks.
What are you trying to do there?
Cut and paste on this terminal. It's
Oh
now.
yeah, I tried before. I haven't figured it out.
I used to be able to do it. Controls. Oops. I don't have everything selected there. Control C. It didn't like it either there. This is gonna be a spectacular lab. Control C.
If it's in the lab, try looking at the
Yeah,
edit
no,
copy, edit
I was trying to
copy or the browser.
going back to it. Yeah, I know it's in the lab. I just didn't want to open it up. I was being lazy. I want to watch tutorial. They don't have nothing there. Environment, table of contents, orientation, virtual lab, create, open console, start power, auto destroy. Table of contents, perform lab exercises. Nothing there. That sucks. Well, we'll do it another way. Can't believe that I can't. I think it's Apple Shift C. Yeah, I think so. All right, we'll go another route. So what I wanted to do was copy the SSH key from here, to here, create a machine, and then go back to our box here using the user that we already have and log into the box that we created with the SSH key and show you how the SSH key works. Right? But that ain't letting me do that. That's it. All right, so we'll go to another route. Okay, so let me pull up my machine. And here, let me come over here. Let me do a user. No, it's not. See, do badge. Can I do user editor? No. All right. So what we'll do is go the opposite way here, and we'll create a machine. Let's change this to Ubuntu. Or Red Hat. Let's go Red Hat. That's fine. And that's fine. And change that to 8. And select. And let's see. Instance 1 is fine. That's fine. Allow full cloud access. Create. I've already exchanged keys on Google Cloud. So Google Cloud will look at your local keys on your box and pull those keys up to that machine out here. And then from my local box, I can SSH to this machine as long as it's a public IP. If it's a private IP, I'm not gonna be able to SSH to it because it doesn't have a public IP address. All right, so now let's hop on this box. See, transferring SSH keys. But I've given permission to my box using the CLI. Oh, it must not be ready yet. Show is ready. Let's find out. Come on, SSH keys. Really? Well, wait, let me see. Let's see, John. Yeah, oh, looks like it. Let's go here. Let me see if I can SSH to the box. Yeah, I'm on the box. So I'll show you how I got there. Let's see, pull this over. I just typed SSH and I grabbed the IP and I'm on the box itself. Well, this works too. All right, so now if I do an ls minus l, or I should do l right here, l minus a. There's the dot ssh, and there's no public key or private key, so I do a ssh dash keygen, right? And I'm just gonna take some defaults here, and then I'm gonna do an ls, and there's my key. So now let's do public key here. We're gonna grab this key, right? And so we're gonna go the opposite way. We're gonna go back to our Red Hat box, right? So those commands that we had earlier, there's no public IPs on these Red Hat boxes. So I can't SSH from my Google Cloud account back to this machine. But I can SSH from this machine, from the Red Hat machine, out to that Google Cloud box. So let's do some checking here. Here's the IP address, and here's the box. So let's see, can we do a ping? Well, look at there. I just did Applebee and it pasted, but okay. So we can ping it, right? All right, so now let's go here and do authorized keys. And then let's go back over here and grab the key from the box that I had right here. So it should be Apple C. And we'll come back over here. Apple B. I don't know why it worked on the other stuff and not this one, but it's printing the key. And that was just Apple C, Apple V on your Mac. So as that prints, we know we can, by default, ping is open to that box through the firewall. SSH should be open, but we're not sure yet. We're gonna check and see if we can SSH from this box to that box. I may have to add myself as what the actual name is, which is Tamika Reed, but we're about to find out. All right. So by default, let's go here and let's come back here and let's SSH Tamika Reed at that IP address. Will you let me in? Maybe not. So it's probably not gonna let me in because I think I have to open up SSH port on that machine. But we're about to find out too. All right, never fear. Now, what we need to do, and this is where troubleshooting comes into play, when you can't figure out if you can SSH to a machine or not. All right, so we have what we call TCP dump. And we can go into our firewall and figure this out before we do this. Linux example. So we want to use some kind of tool to say, hey, what ports are open on this box that I'm trying to get to. And so in Linux and in your troubleshooting sessions and stuff like that, these are things that you would be doing. But before we do all of that, we could go check our firewall for this box. And in Google Cloud, in order to check your firewall for this box, you have to go to network configuration, or I think it's just network. Yeah, VPC network. And then firewall. And then we have allow, let's see, there should be an SSH on here. And we're gonna have to add that tag to the box. I'm looking over here for port 22. Because port 22 is probably blocked. So right here, default allow SSH. Let's see what that is. Yeah. All right. So that's instance one. Is that instance one? Well, our internal IP instance one. Let's see, edit. Allow SSH from anywhere. Let's turn on login. Source IP anywhere. Default 22. Save. That's fine. All right, now let's go to the name of this is, what's the name of this tag? Default 22. Default allow SSH. All right. So back over here in Compute Engine on our VM instances, over here we need to edit this machine. And then we need to add network tag here, and I think it was a default dash allow SSH. Is that right? Does that seem right? If you remember correctly, we're about to save it and find out. So with your instances in AWS, I think SSH is, I think it's still turned on by default if you have your PIM key. In Google Cloud, that's not always the case. You have some firewall rules that you have, but then you have to go back in here and allow certain things. So let's go back and double verify that network was the actual firewall rule. Default, default dash allow SSH. Okay, so let's go back over here. We added it, and let's see. Oh, and another thing you can do. This is a cheat. Sudo su dash, and I will get into the other one in a minute. And do yum. This is insecure, by the way, but it's a cheat. Install telnet, right? So now I can do a telnet on 34.71.109.215, and then I want to do port 22. All right, it's trying to get out. It's not getting out. I wonder if they have some firewall rules set up locally to their box. And let me double. I know from my box itself, I can get out on port 22. Let's do one other thing on this box. Let's sudo. I'm not on the box now. Okay, I'm not on the box anymore. All right, let's go back over to the box. I'm not getting anything. Where my box at? Compute engine, VM instances. Let's go open this up. I don't know why I'm not getting to my box. I could take off that default tag, but that should have allowed you in. And we should be connecting. Let's come back over here. There we go. All right, so we can clear the boxes up. Let's sudo dash, all right. And I think I could change the background to white. There we go. Make that a little bigger. We'll expand this out. Now what we want to do are log messages. All right, so in var log messages, we want to see if there's anything that indicates there's anything blocking this. And it could be local to the box too. So let's not rule that out. So escape Q colon. Are we not there? There we go. All right, so how do we know if it's something not local to the box? Well, we can do system CTL status, and we can do firewall D, and it's running. All right. Okay, so let's quit and let's do stop it. Let's stop firewall D. Because we can go back and check to see if we need to add some stuff. So here, let's try telnet again. No telnet there. On port 22. So we do have our server running on here. But let's try this. I just want to see if I can get to this machine. All right, so I'm gonna do a yum install of HTTPD. And this is what you would do if you are any type of admin or whatnot. You're gonna be doing this kind of troubleshooting. And so when you start spinning up boxes and stuff like that, things to check is what services are running, what services are running, what ports are those things running on, Right now, I'm installing HTTPD because I'm going to install Apache, which is what HTTPD is inside of here, and then I'm going to turn on. Then I'm going to start up the servers, and then what I'm going to do is check the firewall to see if port 80 is open, and then I'm going to check to see if I can hit port 80 on telnet. And if I can hit it, that means from the firewall perspective, it's open. So I turned off the local firewall to the box, and then there's a firewall inside of Google Cloud as well too, right? So there's two firewalls to take care of, and then the other one is there's a firewall possibly inside of our environment in Red Hat. So there's always these different things to check, and then you have to check to see can you get there. Well, we know ping can go out and ping can come back in, so we gotta send and we gotta receive for that ping, like we're getting a response from that, right? Any questions so far? Anybody lost? Yes, no? Could be. Okay, I'm assuming everybody's good. All right, so it's doing this thing. All right, so what I was talking about with TCP dump, we can do a yum install TCP dump. And it looked like it's already installed. All right, so now I want to do a IP-A, maybe IP-A. And so I have interfaces L0 and ETH0. All right, what TCP dump allows me to do, it allows me to watch traffic, right? Look, I can display traffic on interface ETH0. And I'm gonna show you how chatty this is. So we're gonna have to add some filters. So clear, I'm gonna do TCP dump. And we're saying, I'll just do -I, right, for right now. I won't do the ASCII. And then we'll do ETH0. All right, so here it's showing me, okay, I'm listening on ETH0. What's going on ETH0 that you want me to look at, right? So right now we'll have no traffic right now on here, but let's see what we get when, let's see, still let's start. Okay, cool. Hold on, let me start this up. System TTL start HTTPD. All right, and let's do a status. So we got it running. All right, cool. Now we go back over here to Google Cloud, and we could find the public IP for this here, and we'll copy, and we should be able just to do this. And now we got a web server running. It's not secure. It's running on port 80. It's not blocked either. So by true definition, on our Linux box that we have in our class, we can see we're getting some requests here. You see, we can see information coming in here, right? That's just on port 80 on interface ETH0. All right, so now when I was doing earlier my telnet, let me go to port 80, and you can see I got a connection. So by default, from my machine in Red Hat to Google Cloud, I have port 80 open. So what's going on with port 22? We're getting some information back, right? So that's good. Right? That's a good thing. So we know it could be something wrong with our firewall setup. All right. So now when I do 22 again, okay, we block. So okay, now we need to know. Now we know port 80 is fine. We turned off. Let me see. System CTL status firewall D. Even with port the local firewall running. Let me do that. Let me turn that one off too. Shouldn't get in the habit of turning them off, but for time's sake, I am. We should find out what ports are open. Yeah, so still nothing there. All right, but we know port 80 works. So it tells me now that inside of my instance here, inside of my firewall, my VM network, my firewall, I have something going on. So let's do this. Let's create a firewall rule. Let's call it allow SSH dash instance 1. We'll say allow SSH. We'll leave it off right now. Match any yes specific targets, target tags, all instances in network. So we want to come from anywhere .0.0.0 slash. Do I need to do slash? I think so. Slash 0. Okay. So 0.0.0.0 slash 0. Okay, coming from anywhere. We're going to specify a port. In our case, we can do 22, we can do 80, and we can do 443, just to keep it simple. That means I should change the name up here, say allow SSH, and just HTTP, just in case somebody had to come back and look at it. Right? We could turn on logging, but that's okay. All right, so we've got ports 22, 80, and 443 coming from anywhere on all the instances in the network. Allow on match direct traffic, ingress traffic coming in, right? And egress, you can go here. Ingress allows incoming traffic. Egress allows outbound traffic, right? So we're coming into it here. Right, and then we can, default network is that one. All right, cool, everything checks out. And then this is another little thing, like if you was gonna do this on command line, it'll show you what that would be equivalent on command line. So that's pretty cool. All right, so now it's creating a firewall rule. And then we're gonna have to go back again and allow that tag. All right, so here it is right here. I just want to copy this. And then I want to go back over here to my machine. And then I want to edit the firewall rules. And we scroll down here, those network tags, I'm just going to add that. Those are the network tags. And then you just hit enter. And then make sure I'm right. Make sure I don't have nothing else down here that I may be overlooking. Nope. Let's say. Another thing too is on startup, say you want to create some firewall rules and stuff on local on the box. Say we got firewall D started up. We know it's started up by default. We can add firewall rules locally. All right, so that's port 22. We should be seeing something. I should have turned on cloud logging, but I didn't. No, I didn't. All right. All right, so now we'll go back to this instance here. No, wrong instance. It's port 80, this instance. So port 22, still nothing. I don't know why I'm not getting it. So I know SSH is not gonna work. Oh, where's it at? History. Read that. I may have to look at ingress. I mean, egress, but I don't think so because it's coming in. SSH to be read at 34.71.109.215. Yeah, they don't like me. And I don't know at this point, I'm not sure if something is going on with their firewall for the entire network. It may not, it may let you get out anywhere else, but it may not let you, it may not let SSH in on the other side. That could be it. But because I don't have a public IP here. I know that ain't public right there. I know that's not even routable. Let's clear. Let's yeah, so yeah, I can't even, there's no way for me to test that out other than from machine to machine. That sucks. The only other way we could make this work, if I spin up DigitalOcean, I grab some SSH keys off of DigitalOcean. I put the SSH keys on this machine because they're both public and I'm not sitting beside something. And then because they're both public, we can go back and forth and troubleshoot. But let me check to see where we at in class. I know we're over time. Let me look at chapter 10, see what else we had to do. We'll come back next week and I'll finish this off. I'll probably just do 2 public ones. I hate that. And we only have this part here is customize and prevent users, root users from logging in. But you can also set it up where you can have only certain groups of users log in. And they don't show that in here, but inside of your, inside of here, etc, SSH, SSHD config, at the very bottom, it's usually at the bottom where they give you other permissions right here. They'll give you like group user. So let's go here. Let's go look at the man page right here. Man-K on SSHD config. So you're doing man 5 on SSHD config, right? And then when you get in here, they'll show you like allow groups right here. This is what I was talking about. So you can allow certain groups. You can deny users. You can deny groups, but they don't go into that in the class, right? Allow users, what kind of different methods you want to use, whether you want to use a public key or password, whatever. So you have different things that you can do with your configuration file for SSH on how someone can access the box, as well as different, you don't have to use local username and password. The username and password can be tied back to LDAP or Kerbals, which for us would be IPA or free IPA inside of here. And then that triple SD is what it's called. And then that can take care of that user as well too, and how they can log in, but it'll read the configuration files and walk through. And you saw we had Pam as well too when we did our RPM. So I think for this one, what I think is this classroom, and we can go up here to the lab environment, table of contents, classroom orientation. Right here, see, I think from over here, because we're on, I don't know, maybe if we was on the classroom, we don't have access to the Bastion host, but maybe if we was on the classroom, we could probably get out, maybe. But over here on the workstation, we're stuck. But let's try the classroom network. Yeah, it's just a classroom network. Whatever this machine is right here, it has access in and out. But workstation, as you can see on this network, doesn't. This Bastion host probably has access out, but most definitely there's something going, maybe some potential block happening on port 22. Probably let out port 80, but not 22. I don't know. I have to double check this, because when we were doing cloud logging, I didn't see anything that would prevent me. So, but I can come here and we can start sending traffic from here on that telnet port on port 80. Oops. Oh, look, port 80 not working now. Wonder why port 80 not working. Let me go back over here. One last thing. Edit and take off those rules. I don't know why those rules stop port 80 from working. Where they at? We did egress. Where you at? Right here. Right here. This would allow it too. See, HTTP server, they're just network tags that allow. And you can go take a look at those tags. They work just the same as the other ones. So that's interesting. Why all of a sudden it stopped. And I'll start recording.